We send the EU 350 million a week. Let's fund our National Health Service, NHS, National Health Service, instead. So vote leave. It's a barefaced lie!
So, Michael, you have been absent from the Labour Party for 40 years now, but you've just recently rejoined. Why is that?
Well, you remember last time on the night of 23rd of June, which was the referendum vote, you and I discussed that. And actually, I remember you were pro-Brexit and I was really against. But the following day, when my country voted 52% to 48% in favour of Brexit, I was absolutely astonished and then angry. And then I thought, what's happened to my country? This was a fair-minded country. It seems to be against immigration. It seems to be racist. And okay, there's always a few, but my country's not like that. And so I kind of got angry. But then I realized that I wasn't really angry. I was actually angry with myself because I'd been out of the country for that long, 40 years. And I thought, what did I do to prevent my country, which I think, going down the tubes? And I felt that I hadn't really done very much. I'd worked on countries like Somalia and Colombia, and even I lived in the United States. I've been back to my country a few times, but it seemed to be chugging along okay. I wouldn't agree with everything it does, but it seemed to be reasonably reasonable. But then this anger, and I said, I've got to do something. And I thought, well, if I could change one person's mind, then it's worth doing. So that's where I was. And then I realized that what had happened to my country was, in fact, our country, was the austerity under the Conservative government. And people were really voting against that. They'd voted in favour of the Conservative government at the election, which was a surprise. And then they were voting against what was happening to them, worsening income distribution, jobs at risk. And they seem to want to go back to the old jobs. I couldn't understand this. Why do you want to go back? Damn the mines. I mean, surely the big problem was, of course, that they're not getting incomes that were commensurate with what they had before. So that's where the problem is, and that's what we need to work on. Then why the Labour Party? I don't think it's got much of a chance of winning the next general election. I've always kind of been Labour. I did have sympathies, I must say, to the Liberal Party, the Liberal Democratic Party in Britain, and I'm sympathetic with the Green Party, but they're never going to have a majority, and neither of them are going to have majorities. It's either going to be one of the big parties, and it always is. I decided to rejoin the Labour Party, but it doesn't mean to say that I accept everything in the Labour Party. What I would really like to do is to work with that wing of the Labour Party, which is going to start working on rejoining the EU or getting a soft exit, not the hard exit that Theresa May is now promising, which is madness. Madness. I mean, she's going to do what 2 world wars against Germany failed, which is to break up the United Kingdom. Northern Ireland wants to stay with Ireland. Scotland, I'm sure they'll vote to leave if it carries on like this. Wales even. I mean, the majority of people in Wales voted against Brexit. And then London itself, where all the money is in the country. Possibly London could actually become an independent state. It's being touted right now because they won't have access to all the markets in the EU. So what's happening, we already hear some financial institutions rattling sabers and saying we're going to go abroad. So there's a lot of work to do, and I thought, I know a little bit about these things, maybe I can help in some way.
So get out your shovel and your hard hat, you'll be doing some work.
Well, that sort of work I don't mind, but I think it's the anger that's going to push me along, to be quite honest.
So did the vote to leave the EU and the way both parties acted during the Leave and Stay campaign, did that affect your decision to rejoin the Labour Party?
Most definitely. And well, you show this picture of the bus at the back, and frequently you saw Boris Johnson in front of that bus. And you can see what it says there. We send the EU 350 million a week. Let's fund our National Health Service, NHS, National Health Service, instead. So vote leave. It's a barefaced lie. It's not 350 million because about 220 million comes back from the EU in subsidies right across the country. So the net is about 150 million, 140 million a week, which is something like $6 billion a year. I'm sure you do the maths very quickly. $6 billion a year. Well, the health service is $120 billion. So $6 billion is 6% or 5% of that. So Britain, thanks to that damn liar, Boris Johnson, left the EU because of this huge influence, because of 6% of the National Health Service budget, which is equivalent to 2 aircraft carriers. Which, okay, for you and me, is a lot of money, but it's nothing in terms of an economy like the UK. So it was a barefaced lie. And then what happened? When Theresa May became the Prime Minister, she appointed Boris Johnson as Foreign Minister. That made me absolutely mad. And yes, when I saw that on TV, I thought, I've got to do something. I've really got to try and do something.
So who do you think will be the person to lead us out of the EU with minimum casualties?
I don't actually think, believe it or not, that the UK will leave the EU. I think the forces of capital are just too strong, that already you see Theresa May weakening. And don't forget, in the end, the Parliament of Britain has to decide, and they generally are against leaving. So I don't actually see anybody right now saying any of these sorts of things, except some on the centre ground of the Labour Party are starting to think this. The Tory Party, Conservative Party, has always been pretty much against the EU. It's always been the kind of little Englander mentality. Well, I think that Theresa May is definitely not the person. Corbyn, definitely not. He was unfortunately very lukewarm in his anti-Brexit. And today, I'm not sure. One of the big problems with Corbyn is that he's a little bit anti-markets. It's the old left, where you don't mention the word markets. Markets are not perfect, that we know. But the thing is, markets are what creates the wealth in order to drive all our social services, such as the National Health Service and so on. So I think actually, if I think of a leader who's come forward, who's quite impressive, believe it or not, is this lady Nicola Sturgeon from Scotland. And she seems pretty smart and very, very persuasive when she speaks. I think if we can convince Scotland not to have a referendum to leave, that Nicola Sturgeon should be the next Prime Minister of Britain. I don't know how that's going to work because she's not anywhere near it at the moment. So I think a new camp will form of anti-Brexiteers. I'm not sure by whom. I will support such a leader. And of course, I am open to offers.
Well, thank you, Michael, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you in 10 Downing Street.
Thank you very much.
And thank you at home for watching. Don't forget you can catch previous interviews with Michael Hopkins by clicking on our channel. Goodbye for now.